If you bought a new fridge, TV or washing machine lately, then one of the brands that you probably looked at is Haier. But if you thought that Haier was just another home appliance maker, then you'd be way off the mark. I've worked with some of the most successful brands in the world, from San Francisco to Sao Paulo, and I've looked at them through the lens of BAV, the world's largest brand equity platform, supported by 14 billion data points from 57,000 brands right across the world. It's clear Haier is a business that's changing everything we know about running and growing a global business and brand. In 2019, Haier became the very first brand ever to appear in the Brandsy Top 100 Most Valuable Global Brands as an Internet of Things ecosystem brand. And in the immortal words of Michael Caine, not a lot of people know that, but for you, that's just about to change.
Let's start at the beginning. Why are we focusing on Haier anyway? And who are they? Well, Chinese company Haier is the world's biggest home appliance manufacturer. It serves more than 1 billion user households worldwide and operates in more than 160 countries and regions. In fact, every single second of the day, somewhere in the world, someone's buying a Haier product. The business started out in 1984 in China, a workers' cooperative company making refrigerators badly. It had seen a steady stream of new managers, but none of them had been able to make a success of it. The factory was on the brink of bankruptcy, and its staff in the eastern Chinese city of Qingdao were prepared for the worst. Qingdao might be better known as home to a certain other, rather successful Chinese brand. Qingdao beer first brewed in 1903 to a recipe created by a German brewmaster who settled there. It now has about 15% of China's beer market. Anyway, back to Haier. Along came an extraordinary man called Zhang Remin, who was to lead that ailing fridge factory and turn it into what we know today as Haier, putting Qingdao on the map once again. Chairman Zhang is a man now seen by many as nothing less than a management genius. In fact, in China, Zhang defined the CEO title and what the role of a CEO is within an organization. Before him, no one in China knew what a CEO was. Others call him the world's most radical CEO because he's created a business that's not just shaking up the home appliance sector with its innovations, though it's certainly doing that. Haier is completely rewriting the rulebook about how to build a big, successful organization and a global brand. It's taking everything most of us have ever learned about how to get products to market and the business of management theory and doing something radically different. The way Haier works today, I would suggest, is unlike any other business in the world. In those early days in Qingdao, Zhang knew things needed to change and fast. A former factory worker himself, he could see huge inefficiencies that had to be sorted out. And he knew that often people in the factory floor have brilliant ideas that are never heard by the people making decisions. So he transformed the way the business worked. And it all started, yes, with one of these, a sledgehammer. Soon after Zhang took over as CEO, he discovered that around 20% of fridges leading the factory to go to the customers were defective. So he lined them up and in front of the entire staff who made them, smashed them up with a sledgehammer. They thought he was crazy, and so did everyone else. The fridge smashing session made the news in China. Everyone was talking about it. Remember, at that time, very few people in China had an electric fridge in their home. Fridges were an ultra-luxury item, costing the equivalent of 2 years' wages for most people. And yet, here was Haier destroying 76 of them. Zhang knew, of course, what he was doing would have shock value, and it was a great way to get his message out. If Haier were to succeed, it required a brand that stood for quality, products you could rely on. And Zhang was actually a visionary. Because it was only by insisting on top quality that the Haier brand had any future at all. The next step was to link workers' pay directly to the impact that they had on the business. Performance-based bonuses may not be unusual now, but back then, China was just experimenting with market economics. So this focus on an individual's contribution was extraordinary. It gave workers an incentive not just to be more efficient, but also to come up with great ideas and share them for the good of the company, China, and their own pay packet. As Haier has grown, it's transformed the way it operates, not just once, but again and again. Transformative evolution is built into the business. And gradually, Haier has become China's most successful appliance business. Since 2009, it's led the world in terms of sales. The concept that now underpins everything Haier does is something called Rendan He. This is the personal vision of Zhang, now Haier's chairman. He is an impressive figure, intellectually razor sharp, but also incredibly bold, and willing to make huge disruptive changes when he's convinced that a better way of doing things exists. Chairman Zhang has long understood how important brand is to delivering value to its business and its shareholders. And he knows that standing still is not an option. So for the past few years, Rendan He has been the Haier's company mantra. Roughly translated, it means that the value of each employee is inseparable from the needs of end users. Staff are as valuable as the value they create for customers, not just now, but also in the long term. The idea is that every worker, whatever their role or level of experience, should be absolutely razor-focused on understanding the consumers, because it's only in this way that they can do something valuable for those consumers and in turn create value themselves and for the organization. When I spoke to Haier's president, President Zhou, he explained why business needs Rendan He.
The demand from the consumers or from users have been evolving all the time. They're changing and they become increasingly more personalized, individualized. Therefore, it's becoming increasingly more difficult, challenging for any business to satisfy those individualized demands. Therefore, we have to transform of our organization to adapt to those new demands from the users, to making sure that every employee of us can be connected directly to the market, to the users, to respond to users' evolving and fast-changing needs all the time.
Under this model, hire works like a network of skills, knowledge and insight. Rather than instructions coming from the top down, or even bosses empowering employees, everyone at Hire is expected to be an entrepreneur. In fact, they have to be entrepreneurial and successful, otherwise their salary suffers. One of the most radical elements of Rendan Hei thinking came in 2015, when Hire broke up the business into around 4,000 micro-enterprises. The thinking was that small groups of entrepreneurs think fast and respond to market needs, and put all their time and resources into developing what consumers love. Each team determined what it's worth investing in and what they can pay themselves. And they can draw on the vast Hire network, the ecosystem, to determine how to design and build what they see consumers want. The idea is the best consumer insights lead to the best ideas, and they attract capital and the best people who make those ideas work. A virtuous circle. Hire's tech platform is the magic ingredient. It connects the ecosystem together, introducing factories around the world and end users. A team of Hire entrepreneurs and ecosystem partners can design a product, have a factory or software engineers on standby to produce it, and can swing into action when they have enough pre-orders. They can then deliver to the customers' homes within a couple of weeks. That's incredible efficiency, and it's fast. And if it's a global hit, then everyone in that team of entrepreneurs shares in the revenues they've helped to create. No other business in the world operates quite like this. But taking Rendan Hei from concept to reality has not been without some pain. When it divided the business into micro-enterprises, Hire let go around 10,000 mid-ranking managers. Risky? Yes. Traumatic? Yes. But did it work? Well, Hire at the time had over 110,000 workers. Now it generates close to double the sales, but with only 80,000 people. So you might be wondering now what Hire and all its entrepreneurs actually make. Well, Hire products are at the cutting edge of global innovation. Hire fridges can keep vegetables fresh for up to 40 days and keep fish fresh enough to eat raw even after a week. There's a Hire washing machine that cleans itself. There's a Hire washer dryer that eliminates noisy vibrations. But more important than all these advances in individual products is this. This is a brand that sees itself doing much more than producing a collection of fridges, washing machines and the like. Hire has transformed itself from being an appliance maker to an entire connected ecosystem for the home and beyond, based on the Internet of Things. Company President Zhou says Hire's aim is to recruit lifelong users, not one-time buyers, and help them live a better life. Hire's products can talk to each other and to people using them, as well as the environment around them. A connected Hire home gives people seamless control, not just over their appliances, but also their lifestyle. It links their air quality, temperature, and home security with their food, their clothing, and even the water they use. The underlying principle is to make people happier by understanding them better than anyone else. So Hire connected fridges can alert you when certain foods need using up and suggest a recipe using ingredients it knows you have and put the oven on for you. if something's missing your connected fridge, can order it in. Hire's connected mirrors can recommend an outfit for you based on the weather and the occasion you're preparing for. And its Internet of Things washing machines can detect the fabrics in your clothing and wash or dry and clean them accordingly. They'll even check with the garment's manufacturer electronically for the latest instructions. The more that people use these products, the more data they generate, and the more Hire learns about the way people live. It then uses this knowledge to identify new ways to help them. Here's the proof that Hire and the Rendan He approach are onto something. Steady growth in China and rapid growth in overseas regions. And revenue in both Europe and Southeast Asia is growing at between 20 and 30%. Some of this growth has come thanks to some smart acquisitions. Hire has brought up some specialist appliance producers in China and several long-established brands from around the world. Buying GE's appliances was especially sweet for Hire because in 1992, GE had tried to buy Hire. When negotiations broke down, GE warned Hire that they were going to launch in China and said their first goal would be to put Hire out of business. The rest, as they say, is history. In 2016, Hire bought the entire GE appliance business for $5.6 billion. As a business that knows the power of a strong brand, Hire is careful about how it integrates its principles into GE and the other businesses it's bought. Hire President Zhou explains.
特别现在呢，我们有了这个整个品牌体系。
Now that we have multiple brands around the world in the Hire family, like GE Appliances, Candy, and Sanyo, we are adopting a mixed salad approach to post-merger integration. We give full respect to local culture and practices, but also at the same time, when we replicate our business model, the Rendan He model, it's like the dressing of the salad that combines everything together so that we can have both diversity and also consistency.
The results speak for themselves. GE Appliances has seen double-digit growth in a category that's declining in the US overall. The changes taking place at Hire are, to me, indicative of the way the world of brands is being transformed. I see profound shifts at work, and the next generation of strong brands will be built in very different ways to the strong brands that we've all grown up with. If we take a helicopter view of the history of brand creation and engineering, we see three clear phases. First came product brands. Think Coca-Cola or Persil. FMCG brands were created for one market, then globalized. Then came corporate brands like DuPont and GE. In the era of the big industrial conglomerates, their model was the toast of Wall Street. The internet era brought us platform brands like Facebook and Uber. These are the brands that provide the infrastructure to link different types of users. But the Internet of Things era, which we're entering now, requires yet another approach. In the IoT age, a seamless consumer experience is the priority. To achieve this, businesses have to operate as open networks rather than secretive silos. This requires many different players, individuals and organizations to be united by a common desire to exceed customers' expectations and create additional value with every single interaction. The rules of brand building will have to adapt to this new environment. In this new era, ecosystem brands don't just try to meet consumers' needs, they anticipate them. And their focus shifts from merely growing market share to expanding their share of consumers' lives, building not just sales, but a relationship. Haier evidently see this shift in the landscape well. As with the Haier model, ecosystem brands sweep away pyramids of authority, and staff understand that it's consumers, not bosses, who generate their income. Haier became one of the fastest growing brands in China right now. And in such a rapidly evolving market, that's really saying something. But as we've seen, it's not just growing in China, but across the world. This pace of growth has propelled Haier into the Brandsy Top 100 Most Valuable Global Brands for 2019 for the very first time. It now ranks among some of the best known and most successful global brands in any business sector. But Haier is the very first brand to ever appear in our top 100 as an Internet of Things ecosystem brand. And that's something Haier is justifiably proud of. Not just its own success, but redefining what a brand is and can be. But as it grows its own brand value and shakes up the business world, Haier is also doing something else. It's helping to change perceptions around the world of what a Chinese brand means and what brand China is all about. Pioneering Chinese brands are challenging the view that China's just a nation of copycats. And let's be honest, Made in China has had something of an image problem with some historical justification. But now, leading Chinese brands and the Chinese government are keen to change all of that. The National Made in China 2025 program is at the heart of this. It's a plan to vastly improve the quality of Chinese goods, with a focus on digitization and strong Chinese brands the world wants to buy. High-tech areas like robotics, pharma, aviation and electric cars are what the government is targeting. And Beijing is providing big incentives for businesses, plus money for research and development to help make this happen. Can it be done? Absolutely. Consider Japan and Korea. In the 1970s, a Made in Japan label meant that you probably bought a pile of rubbish. And now, Japanese goods command a premium and are the world leaders. Sony and Toyota are among the names that have helped change people's minds. Views about Korea have changed even faster, thanks largely to super brands like Samsung and Hyundai. In China, I'm not saying the quality gap isn't real, but it's closing, and it's happening at an even faster rate than it did for Japan or Korea, thanks largely to brands like Haier. They're rapidly earning China's brands a reputation for both quality and exciting innovation. WPP's VML Y&R runs an annual Best Countries ranking, which measures how people around the world feel about countries as brands and what they offer. And China has shot up from that ranking, from 32nd place out of 80 just 2 years ago to 16 in the world today. It's now just behind Singapore and ahead of Italy. What's really interesting, though, is what China is seen as being good at. It's viewed as being open for business, being forward-thinking, being a great place to start a business, and being a hub of entrepreneurship. As views about China as a country start to change around the world, so does the way people feel about Chinese goods and vice versa. Brand Z research shows that when people think of Chinese brands, innovation is the #1 attribute that people outside of China associate with Chinese brands. There's still work to do on building trust, but young people especially are increasingly open to buying Chinese-made goods. They see them as innovative and also pretty cool. Which brings us back to Haier. The COVID-19 epidemic brought challenges to Haier, the safety of its people around the world and to its global business operations. But Haier rose to the challenge to help the global efforts in the all-important task of trying to beat the virus. In the early stages of the outbreak, Haier swiftly deployed its global resources, setting up an experienced anti-epidemic commando team and a home appliance installation team for the 2 field hospitals, Hushenshan Hospital and Lishenshan Hospital, dispatching medical teams and donating a large amount of money, IoT home appliances, medical equipment and virus protection supplies. Haier used its resources in supply chain and logistics to offer a fast-track green channel for anti-epidemic materials nationwide and provided free transportation services. Haier speedily used its independently developed Cosmoplat, the world's largest mass customization solution and industrial internet platform for the supply and demand of anti-epidemic products, then swiftly upgrading and iterating the platform for work resumption and increasing production, which made it more suitable for the fast-growing needs of small and medium companies requiring help and support and make their contribution to the economic recovery. But behind what Haier has been doing centrally to battle the virus and its impact are self-organised and self-driven actions initiated by Haier's micro-enterprises, its MEs and entrepreneurs. The ME is a coherent set of loosely coupled independent units with their own individual form of profit and loss. Different MEs from an EMC, a ecosystem micro-community with the same goal to jointly create and iterate the best experience during the whole process. These individual actions are the manifestation of the Haier Ren Dan Hai model. This management structure empowered and enabled by Ren Dan Hai to take fast, independent strategic and operating decisions to help support the virus efforts and the Haier business. The decisions being taken are based on user needs and specific on-the-ground, fast-changing conditions. Ren Dan Hai has withstood tests at an extraordinary time and validated its demonstrable impact and effect. This driven and dynamic empowerment of the Haier Ren Dan Hai management model highlights the resilience, innovation and vitality of the Haier ecosystem brand. Through building an ecosystem brand with the Ren Dan Hai model, deepening global reach and influence, and facilitating the development of the Cosmoplat industrial internet platform, Haier embodies its leading vision to become a new growth engine for both economic and social progress in the era of IoT. Haier is a company that optimizes the rapidly developing brand landscape in China where companies are increasingly focused on bold, exciting innovations and high quality. Many companies around the world are visiting Hire to learn about Rendan Hai business model and how it might help them apply it to their business and their business categories. They are changing the way things are done. Organisation, structure, management, manufacturing, design, product development. Hire is at the forefront of business thinking and questions on how business exists. Hire is showing us how companies with an ecosystem approach can create long-term value. They're questioning why and how a company exists. They're moving beyond simply making things to making the world a better place and a better life for us all. You can't aim higher than that.